constantly I see vitriol towards Black Americans online. I'm always seeing these comments about how we're lazy, how we don't try hard enough. It's baffling. Now, I am a Black American, for those who watch my show, by way of my mother, and I am Jamaican by way of my father. Constantly comparing immigrant success to Black American success is non-comparable. Let's just start there. Black Americans by far have the highest statistics for literacy coming out of enslavement, economics coming out of enslavement. Immigrants do not compare. What you're doing today, we've been there, done that. To act like Black Americans have not had great success ever is just dishonesty. What I notice is immigrants come from other countries and they come here. They always have this, my father came here with $1 story. And then they say, but now today I'm a millionaire. Now I'm successful and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let's compare that story to a Black American coming out of literally chains and enslavement and becoming a millionaire. If we compared every immigrant story to Black Americans coming out of enslavement, Black Americans by far would have a lot more success because we came out of enslavement with higher literacy rates than white Americans. In the 1930s, the average Black American were more literate than the average white American. We came out of enslavement with businesses as inventors, as owners of teams of sports, as musicians, as millionaires. We were millionaires in enslavement. A lot of us were millionaires during enslavement. Like, we owned the Negro Leagues. Show me an immigrant that owns a sports team that didn't do it by the pathway of coming to America in their own country, through oppression in their own country. See, y'all always are comparing you coming here. And I'm going to get to that because you wouldn't be here without a Black American in the first place. But the reality is, if we were to compare immigrants who stay in their country, which they wouldn't be called immigrants, right? But that's the best way I can explain it, if they had stayed home. But people in other countries who have got it out the mud and stayed in their countries, y'all never compare those people to Black Americans. We didn't leave. Black Americans haven't left. We have not left, and we're in the belly of the beast. So stop comparing us to people who left their country and came to what we built. Compare us to those who stayed in their country, and let's compare success. Nigeria ain't got nothing on Black America. If we talking about success of the average person, the average Black American can afford a trip to Jamaica, like tomorrow, and have a good old time. Can the average Nigerian do that? Indians, the average Black American can go to London and have a great old time. Can the average Indian in India do that? So that is the most, in my opinion, accurate way to compare Black Americans. You constantly compare people who left their country. Let's go to the fact that back in the 90s, there was a man named Reginald F. Lewis. He was a Black American businessman who owned and operated TLC Beatrice International Holdings, a food company. And his net worth was well over 400 million. Okay, so let's compare immigrants in the 90s. What was y'all doing? What was y'all doing in America? What was y'all doing in America compared to Black successful people? We could name Diddy. We could name Jay-Z, Birdman. What is Romeo's father's name? I'm blanking. All these successful musicians, Beyonce, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, all these very rich, successful musicians and business people, as I just named. And there's more. Constantly trying to compare us is so wrong. Here's the other thing. You guys are experiencing slavery right now in your home countries. We experienced slavery 150 years ago to date, because it's 2025. Yes. So that would be the 150-year anniversary if my math is not mathing. Somebody let me know. 160-year anniversary. So we experienced slavery 160 years ago. Not that we didn't experience neo-slavery, because I'm going to get to that, but 160 years ago for chattel slavery. You guys are experiencing damn near chattel slavery in your own countries today. So when we compare the drive of a people who experienced slavery 160 years ago, and we compare the drive of a people who is experiencing almost like slavery today, which group is going to have more, I want to say, ambition to get out of their predicament? Because our ancestors did the work already. They did part of the work already. Which group? Black Americans did the work already, got themselves out of slavery. Yes, we got ourselves out of slavery. Emancipation was fought for by the Black Americans who fought in every single war. Okay? We did that already. If you are a group that was given independence by Britain, and then you come here on the backs of Black American policies created for our demise and our oppression and our civil rights, and you're coming from countries that have damn near chattel slavery, you're going to just push a little harder because we've done that already. We're here and you're here. The comparison is killing me. Like, the comparison is killing me. Again, I live in a home. I purchased my home. I'm the first person in my family to purchase my home. There's somebody on the street right now, homeless. If me and that person had to fight for survival, that person would beat me 10 times over, because I've already been situated and comfortable in my environment. My parents, my grandparents have already worked hard enough for me to have a home, for me to be able to purchase a home. So the homeless woman or man on the street that I might have to compete with is likely going to have more drive to get food, to get a home than me. If they put me on the street next to a homeless person, I would lose, because I don't know what being homeless is like anymore. Like, I've owned a home long enough to be like, what? I don't know what homelessness is like. I knew what it was like when I was a child. I knew what it was like semi when I was an adult. But I don't know what homelessness is like now, because I'm a homeowner, and I've been a homeowner for the last 4 years. So you put me against somebody on the street, I'm going to lose. And this is what y'all comparing Black Americans to. Y'all comparing us to people who come from the streets of third world countries and being like, oh, well, they work harder. No, they have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go. They have their backs against the walls. Their ancestors did not work hard enough. Ours did. And y'all comparing our drive to that. Okay, so I just want to just put that out there. Like, no, that you cannot compare Black Americans to immigrants in any capacity. In any capacity, in every statistic, we beat them. And I'm saying that with my full chest. Put Indians into chattel slavery today, and then the same exact chattel slavery that we experienced, do that to them for 400 years, and then tell me what their literacy rates would be 20 years after emancipation. Because it's not, the Black Americans increased our literacy rates from 20% to 90%. That is a statistic that is never talked about, and became wealthy business people, and then some of us became the top wealthiest people in the country 90 years later. Reginald Lewis is an example of that. Madam C.J. Walker is an example of that. Mary Ellen Pleasant is an example of that. Robert Reed Church is an example of that. Annie Turnbull Malone is an example of that. Isaiah Montgomery is an example of that. John H. Johnson is an example of that. Berry Gordy is an example of that. A.G. Gatson is an example of that. Like, y'all, like, Oprah Winfrey is an example of that. Robert F. Smith is an example of that. Jay-Z is an example of that. Show me your Oprah Winfrey. Show me your Jay-Z. Show me your Robert Reed Church. Show me your Madam C.J. Walker. Not to mention, even those who were not wealthy had the brains of geniuses, innovators, inventors whose ideas were stolen. Lewis Lattimore is an example of that. But you guys constantly compare us as if we just don't have nothing, like as if we didn't get you here in the first place. So let's So let's get to that. I'm tired of y'all saying, oh, my father came here with $1. That is a lie, okay? As I have mentioned, I have a Jamaican bloodline by way of my father, and I have a Black American bloodline by way of my mother. You cannot come here for $1. Stop trying to use this symbolic ass story. And it's all of y'all. That's the first thing y'all say out of y'all mouths as an immigrant. My dad came here with $1. And so I'm so proud of myself. You're a liar, okay? I'm gonna tell you exactly how you're a liar. In the 1940s, the cost to get to America from Europe by boat was about $150 to $300. That's about $5,000 today. Your father didn't pay $1. Your father said, I'm willing to trade my life for slavery, not in my country, but in another country. And that's how they got here. They didn't pay $1. It cost money to get here. In the 1950s, a one-way flight cost about $400 to $500 from Europe. Oh, and by the way, I'm talking to all immigrants. European, African, Asian, Hispanics. Hispanics can actually walk here from Mexico and Costa Rica, Honduras, and Panama. They can walk here. Some of them and a lot of Caribbeans can get here by boat. But the others, Africa, Europe, you're lying. You're lying. Okay? This is documented. You can't get here for $1. I don't understand this symbolic $1 story. No. A ticket from Jamaica or Nigeria in the 1970s could range from $250 to $500, and that's still about $2,000 to $3,000 in today's money. That's a lot of money. It was not $1. So how can your people who are so poor gather the money to get on a flight in the 70s? They were sponsored. They were selected. And until you guys realize that, the comparison is out the window. Stop doing that. I know my grandmother's story. She didn't get here for $1. None of her people got here for $1. They had to pay the price of money and the price of labor to replace the enslavement that Black Americans emancipated themselves from. That is the real story. They needed new slaves. Y'all are the new slaves. Becoming millionaires, we've been there, done that. Becoming academic geniuses, we've been there, done that. Y'all try to act like we're so dumb. Like y'all kids are so smart because they're engineers, lawyers, doctors. We did that first. Still doing that. There's a whole show called Married to Medicine on Bravo with Black American doctors, physicians, men, male and female. We've been doing that. We've been doing that. Engineers, been doing that. Business owners, been doing that. And as a matter of fact, Black American women are the highest business owners in the country to date. Been doing that. Like, what are you saying? Academically, been doing that. The geniuses of the world, I think currently, are 3 Black children in the South. What are you talking about? So I'm just fed up with this narrative. Like, it's just such a huge lie. And it's not facts. But here's the similarity between Black Americans and immigrants. As I stated, out of slavery, we had our backs against the walls. So we did grind to a degree of, I would say, to the highest level we could ever grind because of the situation. Nobody knows what it's like to be enslaved. None of us know. I feel the pain of my ancestors, but I still don't know, even though I experienced post-traumatic slave syndromes in many different ways. I still will never know. So the similarity is when you have your back against the wall, you do go harder. And I'm not saying that we don't have our back against the wall. We're just 160 years removed from that struggle story in that way, in the way of chattel slavery. we're experiencing struggle stories in different ways because of what happened after that you guys have never experienced. And so you will never get it. You will never get it. You're still on, we come from shanty towns. We come from going in a hole. We come from no electricity cutting off 10 times a day. We come from, we don't have those problems. Our people invented the light bulb. Our people invented the toilet. Black American man invented the toilet. Black American man invented the light bulb. We don't have those issues. So comparing fabricated, poor stories, and I say fabricated again because you guys did not come here for $1, to real struggle, it's just not gonna compare. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of it. Again, show me your Tyler Perry, show me your Oprah, show me your Jay-Z. Not to mention, out of enslavement, Black Americans created over 100 Wall Streets. There's only one Wall Street in New York, where I'm from. We created 10 times that all over the country. Booming industries. And guess what happened? They've been destroyed. They've been bombed. They've been integrated. They've been systemically attacked and dismantled in so many ways. And that is how we differ. We're different because despite our backs once being against the wall to the degree of you guys, as if I could compare, which I still don't think is comparable. You coming from a poor country does not compare to Black Americans coming out of enslavement anyways. But if I could compare that point, that very low point where we came out of enslavement with 0, and we surpassed white America in our little enclaves, we differ because our success has been bombed, destroyed, time after time after time after time again. Even when we rebuilt it, bombed, destroyed, and destroyed again and again and again and again. And I really don't think y'all know what that's like. Like, y'all don't know what that's like. You know, imagine, for example, Montego Bay. Imagine Montego Bay, Jamaica. That's a tourist area. Imagine that being bombed every year by the British. And y'all had to rebuild it and rebuild it and rebuild it. It already looks mid. By the 5th or the 6th time, it's just gonna be like, come on. And this is what happened in our neighborhoods. Philly got bombed. Tulsa, Oklahoma got bombed. I believe Rosewood, Florida. I don't want to make a mistake. Rosewood, Florida, they literally lynched all the Black Americans. Okay, yep. Lake Lanier, they flooded the town. Read the color of law. Like, the displacement is real. Not to mention the CIA dropping bombs and crack in your neighborhood, putting guns on the streets so that people, I mean, have you ever read Lord of the Flies? Like, a lot of you people have this analogy, but you don't even have like real life experience. Like, Lord of the Flies is a perfect example. It's like you put a group of people on an island with no food, they're gonna start eating each other. That's just how humans are. And so when you've taken our wealth and you've taken everything we've built and you shove us into these poor communities and deprive us of sunlight, of outdoor nature, of nutritious food, and then tell us here's a supplemental food card to buy yourself food, and even then the food is strategically priced higher than other communities, but then there's a McDonald's on the corner, then you have the mom working, then you have the dad working, but then you kick the dad out the house because the mom won't get her snack. If the dad is there, she won't get any help. You continuously do that, then you lock the dad up, so then the kids don't see the dad, the kids become dysfunctional, the mom becomes distraught, and it's just a cycle that repeats. Like, you have not experienced that. So the comparison is wild to me. Like, it's just so wild. It's so wild. None of your neighborhoods have been destroyed over and over. None of your people have been purposely put to be addicted to sugar and other drugs. You combine sugar with coke, crack, weed, all this mess, and then you add the phone. Our people are destroyed mentally. Liquor stores on every corner, birth control, sterilization. If anybody got proof that a Chinatown was bombed or a Punjab town like the one in Jersey City was like bombed like Black Americans, like, where's the proof that you guys have been attacked on your homeland over and over and over and over, and year after year after year after year? After enslavement, after the success of enslavement, because the Reconstruction era was working. They peeped that it was working, they took that away. But you know what I noticed? Y'all don't realize that y'all are selected. A lot of y'all's ethnicities are selected, not because you're special, because you're not really a threat. And I think y'all don't understand that. When you're truly a threat, you're never going to survive in America. You're never going to be given a hand up to survive when you are truly a threat to the establishment, to the founding of America. Some people just won't be given a hand up at all. But threats, Black, smart people, that is seen as a threat. I mean, the Black Panther Party ain't kill nobody. They ain't do nothing. They were just seen as a threat for being smart and being protecting and righteous. But I feel like, I don't have any proof of this, but a perfect example of a people who were not selected are Puerto Ricans. Because when you look at Puerto Ricans, like, they only became citizens in 1917 because of the American-Spanish War. So they've only been citizens legally for like a little bit over 100 years. What's that, like 108 years? I don't know. And it's like, they have not been selected to be like the model Hispanic minority when they could have been. Cubans have been selected first over Puerto Ricans, which is really interesting. Really, really interesting. So if you look at, anybody ever asked like why Puerto Ricans weren't selected? Like, they could have easily used Puerto Ricans to surpass Black Americans because they pushed them in our neighborhoods. But no, they sterilized their women too. They kind of submerged into Black American neighborhoods for the most part. Some of them went to white neighborhoods as well. And I'm not a Black and brown advocate. I'm just saying what I've noticed living in New York City, growing up in Brooklyn. 70% of Puerto Ricans identify as white. So why would they not be selected to be the model minority over Asians or the model minority for Hispanics in America? They weren't selected. So people always say like, oh, Black Americans are lazy, da 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 da, in comparison to immigrants, but y'all don't ever point out Puerto Ricans who were indeed, and to me, still immigrants, because they're just a colonized people that have legal citizenship because of the territory. But these are people that are not American, in my opinion. Ethnically, nothing to do with America. Culturally, nothing to do with America, just technically American because of the territory. But they were not selected. So if you're going to compare Black Americans, compare the stats of Puerto Ricans and why they're not as successful as other immigrant groups. And I can tell you why, because they've been bystanders to our oppression, because majority of them live in poor neighborhoods. The most they got is a bodega. Don't tell me about tokens, okay? Tokens don't count. Tokens are not a part of this conversation. I'm talking about a large group. I don't know a Puerto Rican town outside of Boricua and Bushwick. Maybe some places in Pennsylvania, maybe some places in Boston. but I don't know of, Newark, some places in Newark, but I don't know of like Puerto Ricans running the neighborhood to the point of like they control it. Like maybe they may be city council, maybe they may own a few businesses. I don't know them to be like largely like how Black Americans were, like inventors, innovators, and millionaires. And I don't know them to be like that. I know them to copy us and be in our spaces, i.e. Fat Joe. I know them to copy us and be all up on what we doing, i.e. Shorty of CEO of Rock Nation. I know them to copy what we're doing. Like there were a lot of Puerto Ricans in the soul music industry back in the 70s and the 60s. You'd be surprised, a lot of like the artists that sing that soul music, some of them are like full on Puerto Ricans. I can't remember the name, but they was doing like a Grammy special, and this is where I learned this like a few years ago. Again, I'm not saying that they were predominant. I'm saying that they have been copying us and riding off of our coattails, but they've never been the leaders in their own community. From what I see, they kind of just bum rush with their Puerto Rican ethnic culture in poor neighborhoods. Like they may take over a poor Black neighborhood, but I've never seen them take over any white neighborhoods like the Chinese or the Indians and that type of way. But nobody talks about the Puerto Ricans and how unsuccessful they are as a group. Nobody compares them to immigrants. Anyways, and they haven't even experienced slavery like us. So anyways, I say that to say that like if you see an immigrant group doing pretty well, they were selected. There's proof that companies make some type of relationship with other immigrant countries to flood them in here. Like in San Francisco, apparently there was like this deal to flood Indians into the tech space in the 90s. Currently, there's a deal on the table to flood Kenyan Africans into the country to be truck drivers. So the government makes deals with these countries, and that's how your people get here. This whole your dad was lied to and made to think that he came because he wanted to. A lot of the times it's like a push and shove situation. A lot of the times it is like imperialism, like influencing them to get over here, and then all of a sudden there's this pathway for them to come. All of it was made strategically made by groups like the CIA in those countries, making a deal with those countries. Like, you know what, we're going to start a war in your country, and that's going to force all these people to leave. And then once all those people leave, we're going to act like they got here on their own, and then we're going to help them once they get here and they go to the poor Black neighborhoods, get home loans, and like all of that's orchestrated, I promise you. But it seems like you got it out the mud. Like, I really want y'all to like think about this. I work at a company, and a lot of Africans are, and not just Africans, other immigrants are like got here 6 months ago and they own homes. That's unreal. That is unreal. I asked this lady, I'm like, how do you own a house in Pennsylvania when you just came from the Congo? That she's like, my husband. Y'all don't even have social security numbers. That is so unreal. That is not really, that's not, no, that's not how it's done. So anyways, I want y'all to know that you're selected. You may not feel like it, but you're selected. A lot of the times, some Caribbeans, some Africans are selected to minimize or for America to be like, hey, we don't really have that much discrimination because look, we allow Africans and Caribbeans to come here. So we're not that racist. We're not that racist because we like the Asians and the Hispanics and the Indians too, even though we don't like them. I need y'all to know that like it's all connected. And then let's go back to where I started the video off of when I said my father is not American, regardless of the fact that he was born here as a Jamaican, as with 2 Jamaican parents. He's still not American because birthright citizenship was indeed not made for people who came here. The key difference between Black Americans and immigrants is that you all voluntarily came here. It may have been through other pressures of, you know, that were orchestrated in your country. Like I said, CIA like there's so many stories of the CIA purposely, like for example, I think it was Peru, I could be wrong, or Venezuela, causing wars and influencing the people to migrate to America. So yes, imperialism happens, right? But you're still coming by choice, not by force. It's more so by influence, not by force though. Black Americans were enslaved and forced into enslavement for 246 years. There's no comparison. There's no comparison, okay? And then upon freedom, had zero assets, okay? You guys came here and you came to a functioning country made off the backs of Black Americans, a functioning country. Your countries are barely functioning, but then you want to compare success. If I go to your country, I would fail too. You come to mine where my ancestors died, of course you're going to succeed. We set it up that way. It's like the audacity to say we have nothing, we set it up that way. White Americans would not have the success of being able to say that the United States is the greatest country in America without Black Americans, without the enslavement of Black Americans. Do you realize that plantations had their own currency because of the enslavement of Black Americans? And that's just an enslavement tip. I don't even want to stay on the enslavement tip because I'm past that. When you do real dives, real deep research, you see that slavery and let's just say our participation in every war is not the only reason why America is such a great and the richest country in the world. We actually built the country before slavery. And that's the conversation that none of y'all are willing to have. There was no New York. This idea that Italian Americans and Italian immigrants and Irish immigrants built New York is a fallacy. The Lenni Lenape peoples included people who were melanated that built the entire North and New England, if you want to call it that. We made it comfortable for you to come here through policies that were misinterpreted, like the 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship, through the Civil Rights Act. You guys are coming here on the backs of you guys are coming here on policies that were created for our demise and were created and pushed by the pressures of our people. The 14th Amendment was indeed created because of the Dred Scott decision. If he had not sued, there would probably be no 14th Amendment. In addition to that, after the Dred Scott decision, or before, the Nat Turner Rebellion really pressured the country. Because the slave rebellions were pressuring the government, because they're like, look, if we keep having slave rebellions, we're going to lose. I don't think you understand how badly the American government was getting their ass whooped by slave rebellions. See, that story is not told either. They was getting their ass whooped by slave rebellions. They was getting their ass whooped by the Maroons in the swamps down in Florida. This is why we have policies. Civil Rights Act of 1965, that's the second or the third one. The first Civil Rights Act was created in like 1864. We pressured the government to create these type of policies for us. And then because they were working, white Americans was like, you know what? We need more people on our side. So we're going to create an immigration act allowing white immigrants or white passing immigrants to come here to get our numbers up. And let's see how the Black Americans deal with that. And ever since, you've been weaponized to dismantle and disarm Black Americans from the natural success that we've had since emancipation. I don't even know how else to put it. I just don't know how else to put it. I feel like y'all don't understand like how y'all being used. So the comparison is just weak. And then it's like a lot of y'all can assimilate to whiteness. Turkish immigrants can indeed call themselves white people, and they're not. Irish immigrants can call themselves white, and they're not. Italian immigrants can call themselves white, and they're not. In my opinion, the only white Americans are people who came here on the Mayflower. That's it. Anybody else, you're not a white American. A white American was created to be an ethnicity in America. Even though all them people came from Europe, it's a status. It's a status that was created prior to the influx of Southern European immigrants. Like I thought we all learned that in history class. Like the Ellis Island immigrants, like, were different. I thought we all learned that. But today, y'all don't have that. Y'all have that difference in like Little Italy and like all these little enclaves, but on paper, y'all are counted as white. Because that's what y'all choose to do. And this is why Africans and Caribbeans feel like on paper they can count as Black Americans, and Black Americans are like, hell no. Because the cultural and the ethnic culture is a lot different. So I just wanted to, put this out there, because I feel like from slavery to mass incarceration to new forms of loss, displacement, trauma, convict leasing, lynching, redlining, segregation, war on drugs, y'all don't understand the multi-generational trauma that Black Americans have to constantly fight through, and to come from a terrible country and have programs set up to where you don't even have to speak English to survive here. You're not comparing. You're not comparing. There was a point where they used to tell us to speak proper English. That was a whole thing, speak proper English. And then y'all get here and y'all have Spanish in the public schools to help you continue to speak Spanish. You know how many schools I've taught at? And the whole school is teaching in Spanish. My old high school, I substituted at. And I was so shocked. Years after I graduated, they have whole classrooms learning in Spanish. But y'all want to compare. Y'all can literally opt out of racial struggles. Y'all can just say, I'm white. I'm just a white person that speaks Italian. I'm just a white person that speaks Spanish. Y'all can literally opt out and then contribute to the harm of Black Americans in the same retrospect. Y'all get to hopscotch. One day, especially Hispanics, y'all get to say, oh no, I have one Black grandparent, I'm Black. Oh, actually, I'm technically very pale, so I'm white. Oh, but no, I want the benefits of being called Latino. So on your application, you get to do X, Y, Z. Like, nah. Comparison is so malicious to compare us. When we've survived, like you wouldn't even survive this, like y'all wouldn't even survive this, for real. Like, come on now. A lot of y'all people have been washed out in y'all countries. Mass murders to this day. A lot of us have gone to a lot of bloodshed, but we are surviving. We are surviving. We're doing well, very well, for what we've been through. This African girl one day, she asked me during a debate, she was like, well, you keep saying they. Who's they? Who's they? Why do you keep saying they? They is white supremacy. They are the people constantly oppressing Black Americans. And yes, we're still being oppressed to this day. She's like, well, why do you just keep saying they? They. I'm like, she just don't get it. Because it's not a face. If racism stopped with a face, if it stopped with all the slave owners, then we would be in a better place. But it continued on because of a lot of white immigrants coming here and constantly trying to use that racial terror and racial terror to put themselves over Black Americans. Like, do y'all remember the liquor industry? And do y'all remember how the mob used racial terror towards Blacks? And they weren't even accepted into white society yet. So it's like, y'all don't compare. Been there, done that. And I'm just gonna leave my video on that. I feel like y'all just don't get it. Y'all just don't get it. Y'all never get it. And Dr. Clyde Anderson says this in his books. And we don't care if y'all get it. But you will understand that this is our homeland, this is our country. A lot of the times, one last thing I want to say is that there has been destruction inflicted on immigrant groups in America, like the Japanese concentration camps. You know, white mobs have shot and killed Chinese people before. So there has been terror, but there has not been systemic terror. And that's the part that y'all don't understand. Yes, y'all may have been targeted once or twice in history, but it has not been every year, every month. And it's gotten to a point where, like, the system doesn't need to program itself. Like, you ever watch The Matrix? And it's like the people just keep replicating and keep popping up, right? The people with the glasses, they just keep popping out. That's what's happening to us. So when you see police killing a black man or a black woman, it's not like somebody is like, the system wants you to do X, Y, Z. No, that's not what's happening. And y'all gotta be real stupid to think that's what's happening. But white people see that they can get away with it. Not even just white people, because you don't have to be white to be a white supremacist. People see that they can get away with it. So when they become police officers, they inflict a little bit more on a certain group. It's no different than a bully. A bully can see who's a weak one. And so a bully will not bully another bully. A bully will try to bully people that they seem to be weak and people that they feel are inferior. And that's the system. That's the white supremacy. As long as you feel like you're better than this other group, then you're constantly inflicting white supremacy over black Americans. And again, you don't have to be white to be a white supremacist. You just have to feel like white ice is colder. That's it. You just have to feel like white ice is colder and you're a part of that white ice group in some way. Whether you're a Hispanic and you're a conquistador descendant, you know, yeah. Another thing I don't think y'all understand, I just want to say one more thing, is that if white America started mass incarcerating, mass murdering immigrant groups, those immigrant countries would feel like America's a threat, and that would create like a really serious international problem. Whereas when it's happening to us, they have no one to answer to. Like if they just started wilding on a certain group, that country is going to be like, oh, y'all got a problem with us. But when they do it to us, they have nobody to answer to. And that's why that whole Pan-African thing is a fallacy. Because when we was getting mass murdered and we was getting, where was the African countries to help us? Where was the African countries to be the person that they answer to? Because we're not African. And Africans are not seen as a threat at the end of the day. No. So anyways, I conclude this video with, you don't compare, stop comparing. Your success is a token and is orchestrated purposely to consistently try to undermine our oppression. And you're not special. And you're not that smart. And you wouldn't be smart and you wouldn't be that successful without Black Americans and without the policies that we force the government to create through war, through strategic ways. And go pick up a book and actually read what happened to us before you start comparing. And I conclude, as a North American princess, as a Black American princess, I conclude on that.